Well, this is definitely, I think, a much bigger number than even many ardent Democrats were expecting. I think it's given the recent weakness in employment and retail sales, there's probably a good case for significantly higher spending. I think at the moment, with interest rates so low where they are and the deficit not having really created much upheaval in the bond markets, people have been pushing out those numbers. I mean, they've been getting bigger and bigger before they start to worry about inflation and higher interest rates. Now, there is more chatter going on about this. I've been hearing more lately, and I think an immediate reaction to this almost $2 trillion proposal was it's going to cause trouble down the line. But I think that's still a minority view.
Right. I was looking at some of the responses, for example, from Kevin Brady and House GOP leadership. And the general tone is, here we go again, trying to recapture what they didn't get in the HEROES Act, a grab bag of goodies from the Democrats. Do you think that really slows down what the president-elect is trying to get?
I don't think so. I know Kevin Brady, and I have a lot of respect for him. But he is one of the traditional deficit hawks that have been dwindling in the Republican Party. And given the data that's come in recent years, I just don't think the deficit is going to play right now as a major political issue, although there remains a cadre of Republicans, but not enough to really, I think, block this. I think I was actually pleasantly surprised that there weren't more kind of grab bag items attached to this. Most of this is very targeted to COVID-related problems of a finite duration, which means, you can say, oh, I don't want to raise the unemployment benefits that much, but it has an end point, and it is to address a crisis situation. Now, there are a few things in there that do not fit that mold, like raising the minimum wage. That's not specifically a COVID issue. I think it would be wiser for the Democrats to strip out some of these, these wish list things, and maybe they will in the negotiations. I don't think anyone thinks that this proposal is going to be enacted word for word the way it is now.
No. And then, Jim, we go from this proposal to the next potential one, of course, focus on infrastructure, something that I think much of corporate America certainly supports, even if their tax rates were to go up a bit. Any sense at this point, from your perspective, in terms of how much resistance there's just going to generally be to the Biden agenda, so to speak, beyond this bill?
Well, there's going to be, I think, some resistance. I mean, you've got the big spender people who don't want to even spend on the infrastructure. But I think that they blocked, Trump's attempts to get some infrastructure spending going. But they're not in a position to do that now that the Democrats have effective control of both houses. I do think, Republicans will put their bodies on the train tracks to try to prevent any boost in unemployment that makes it more lucrative not to work than to work. And they're very opposed to bailing out what they consider big spending blue states. That's a kind of a third wheel.
Yeah.
And going forward, I think the infrastructure pieces are quite promising. I think there are a lot of Republicans that would like to see that. And by the way, just speaking as someone who lives in New York, that new Moynihan station is sensational. It shows that, you can actually do something. The government can do something that is effective and stunningly good looking and such a pleasant experience now for anybody who's going to be going to Washington on Amtrak. Anyway, to me, it just inspired the idea that I'm a big supporter of infrastructure spending.
It was only 30 years in the making from when Daniel Patrick Moynihan actually proposed it.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.